What's up, guys? Jack and Alex here coming at you.
What's up?
Another Sunday where we're just here to talk about stuff that's relevant, things that past experience that gets dredged up for whatever reason for us to go through it, live it, dissect it, understand it, grow from it. So Alex has a cool story. I'm just gonna throw you right in there. She has a cool story about when she was young, and we're just gonna mention how like the relativity of how something that doesn't seem big, it doesn't matter where you are in your life, something that's big is big. Like if you're 7 years old and something is traumatizing to you, that's a big deal whether you think it's a big deal or not. So what happened?
I mean, now to me it's not that big, but
then it was.
Yeah. So just, man, when I was 7 years old, I went to a lot of daycares, and this one time I was at Boys and Girls Club hanging around the bad crowd. Not that great of a crowd, and
those little hoodlums.
The sixth graders, while I was in second grade, thought it was all cool. We basically like went into this room that was basically like a storage room. Later found out it was like a Sunday school. Didn't know that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we ended up like ransacking this place, like just house paint like on the walls, writing shit on the walls, like fucking ripping open like boxes of Cheerios and everywhere, just making a fucking
food that
mess.
Was gonna go to like poor families.
Shut up. Maybe, but just fucked up this room, and I don't really know what possessed me to do that. I want to be a part of that, but it happened, and I actually was covered in paint myself. I remember that night going home, and I was covered in this yellow paint, like house paint that shit like is not coming off your clothes, and it was in my hair, and I had to lie to my mom and just make up this whole story that wasn't true. It was a fucking absurd story. I'm sure she didn't believe me. And later,
7-year-old.
Later, fucking cops came to the Boys and Girls Club and called us aside, and we got in a lot of trouble, and so much trouble that they had me go see like a therapist because they thought I was like fucked up, and like they told us that we would go to juvie, but we were too young, or I was too young, and anyway, like this story, like, or this whole situation, like really changed my life, because it, ransacking this place, my mom had to dish out a lot of money to repair it, and we weren't like the most wealthy people, and to me that was like a huge thing. Like I felt like I let my family down, and it really, really affected me at the time. That was like my whole world, and I was worrying them, that there's something wrong with me, and it just kind of, it made me want to be like a better person, but like too like perfect in a way that made me more of like a people pleaser at the end of the day, and kind of just made me just try to be perfect in all areas of life, and whether that meant not following a path that I liked, or just listening to like society's standards, thinking that I'm doing the right thing by them and by my family, but in reality I wasn't doing anything that was like congruent with my purpose, or what I'm here to do and be. You know,
holding yourself down.
I was
out of fear of hurting people, hurting her loved ones, which is, it's noble, but when you're that young, you can't decipher like what's wrong and what's right. You just know that you don't want to feel that guilty feeling again,
and I made it like this huge thing on my end, and I tried to be this like strong 7-year-old who kept all this emotion in, and all this feeling towards it, and in turn didn't let my family know really how I felt and how much it affected me. And I actually had a conversation with them recently, and and just came to this conclusion that I could have avoided all of these feelings over all of these years, you know, and this weird way of thinking that I, you know, had put on myself back then, that I had to be perfect in this way so I wouldn't let them down, you know, like they're like, that wasn't even that bad, Alex.
Yeah.
Like, like if you would have just, you know, said this to me before, like, you know, I would have let you know that this wasn't that bad.
You had made the assumption that they were going to not be able to take what you had to say, or your confession, you know, you had the assumption that they were going to run you through the dirt with it. In reality, they had all the compassion and love for you in the world.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you do something and you feel that guilt, especially being so young and you don't have that understanding yet, it's scary and it's traumatizing. Like, even though it doesn't sound like the biggest deal that she, you know, was a kid and tore up a room, like we've all freaking thrown rocks at glass, you know, that's a kid thing to do. But what traumatized you was letting your family down. Mm-hmm. And that's what stuck with you for so long. And now you're realizing, like, damn, you could have just, or they had open arms for you no matter what, you know, you could have talked to them.
And like part of the story was, and this is like super embarrassing for me to even bring up, and like this is like part of why I didn't end up like talking about it again with my family, because it was just like, okay, let's move on. But
please say something grimy. Something grimy, please.
We were in this room for hours because we didn't want to get caught, you know, and just hours just gone, and we had kid metabolisms. We had to go to the bathroom. And so we went ahead and went to the bathroom in there. Yeah, pretty fucking gross, you know, but anyway, when we were talking to the cops, like, I'll never obviously forget this, but he wrote off or read the description of what we had done back to us, so we could be like, yeah, we did that, and mentioned this part that we were like, that wasn't us, you know. And but anyway, it was just fucked up. It was just all fucked up, and it was very embarrassing. And like having like people around you know that you did your business in like this place and then you fucked it up, and then it was just something that like I obviously never wanted to talk about again.
Well, hold on, like, you left out a part. They did their business in there, and after one of the other little freaking punk kids, like scattered that shit throughout the room. That's what you left out. And that's what you didn't partake in. Yeah. But that's embarrassing. That's like that's mortifyingly embarrassing.
It's mortifyingly, yeah, like thinking that these
people thought you did that.
Thought that we did
People
that.
thought you did that.
I mean, it's gross enough that we fucking went to the bathroom. Oh no. This is like God's like, stop telling.
No, this is a good part.
This is enough. But like it was gross enough that had happened, but you know, at the time we were like, we have no other choice, we're gonna get caught.
Yeah.
But anyway, this other little troublemaker came in after and just made it like a 1,000 times worse. And then they thought that, you know, we had done it, and we were just mortified that all these people thought that we did it. And anyway, disgusting story, terrible story, but like this, although it may not seem that crazy to other people, it was like mortifying to me at the time.
At that time in your life, it's so embarrassing.
So like
before you're old enough to handle it.
Too, you're like,
yeah,
it's
totally.
Just anyway, crazy. But I don't know what the moral of this now is.
The moral of it is like how it was a big deal to you then. It's such a big deal. It was so embarrassing and so traumatizing, the amount of embarrassment, that you held on to that, and it made you shelter yourself. It made you like hold yourself down in fear of letting people down and being embarrassed and all these things. And I feel like we've all had similar experiences to that have held us down and made us feel that guilt. And that's the point of it, though.
And I've actually had many situations in my life that were embarrassing, like incredibly embarrassing beyond like what you can think of. And I think that might be part of my story too, is to like hey, if you have an embarrassing story, like shit happens.
Shit
Literal
happens. Shit happens all over a multi-purpose room.
Girl.
Dude.
Okay, but stuff happens, and like, you know, instead of holding on to it, like move on,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe like share your story to let someone else know that they can move on. You know, like, because you shouldn't let that stuff define you or
No.
make you feel like you need to be this perfect person after, and then, you know, just like how my story was. So
Yeah, when you share things like that too, it gives people that didn't have the courage to share theirs, that they can hear it and be like, oh my god, okay, I can totally relate. And she has the courage to open up and share, like I could open up and share. You know, like we've all done little crazy weird things that when you're young you're not proud of, and like things that make you feel guilty. But it's just so cool to see like that she was 7 years old, already got that big old wake up call in her conscience to like not do bad things, to not, you know, to just not do things that are disrespectful to yourself or to other people. And it's made you live a much more virtuous lifestyle of self-respect and living upright. And yeah, we can all relate to that. So it's very beneficial for you to bring that up, even if you think it's silly. I think it's kind of silly.
It's very embarrassing, but you know, it happened for a reason, you know, and I'm happy that it happened. Maybe not to that extent, but like I'm happy that it did happen because, you know, it humbled me, and I was able to come to a conclusion that I don't even know.
I mean, you're able to
Like,
you're able to just be more in tune with your conscience from that. That was like the silver lining.
yeah.
You know, that feeling of guilt, that is a guidance, you know, like it's our conscience saying, don't do this. This is fucked up. This is disrespectful to yourself, to your family. So that feeling of guilt is a gift because we use that to navigate around situations like that. We don't want to feel that way. We know that that's out of alignment with our purpose, with why we're here. So it's good. It's a blessing. Everything that's bad that happens to us is like a blessing because now we have the awareness of it.
Yeah.
So
True.
none of that shit is in vain if you share it like you are, you know, like
Yeah.
it's in vain if you can't grow from it and help people with it. Then it is in vain. Then you just took it selfishly and trying to save your own skin, but you're not. You're right here, open canvas for us to all make fun of you now. So don't leave your multi-purpose room unattended if Alex is in your town.
And there's plenty more stories.
Yeah, but that's
like,
good. I appreciate you sharing it.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most embarrassing ones. But
Cute though.
you just love me.
I love you, and that's not anything bad, but I feel you though. When you're that age, that is anything that makes you embarrassed and guilty feeling, it's real, whatever it is. So good shit, baby.
But thanks for listening.
Yeah, we're running out of time. Thank you guys. We'll see you later.